Hi, everybody. This is in 55 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room because he was a whistleblower and he was absolutely exposing this entire Jeffrey Epstein cartel network. I mean, you know, it's just the worst type of crimes against children. He was absolutely standing against it, and he was uncompromised, has sparkling record. He was really a threat to them because he was the distinguished honor graduate, number one in his basic training course, basic training class cycle. And of course, number one in AIT and the guidon bearer and combat lifesaver, wanted to be CID, and he was exposing them and was had a good character, wasn't compromised. So he was their worst nightmare, because they always want to compromise to make the witness an unreliable source. Well, Richard was a whistleblower because he was in his official capacity as a U.S. Army soldier, and absolutely was sparkling clean, great record. And he was their worst nightmare. And so they forcibly removed him from his barracks room and took him downstairs to the arms room because it was a soundproof room. And they took his life. And they had it organized so that they could steal his body off of Fort Bliss. Because you have to remember that this Mormon faction cartel was under great scrutiny already because they had, um, the animals, God had located Vanessa Guillen's remains there at Fort Hood. This was under the same leadership. Fort Hood and Fort Bliss are under the same FORSCOM general, General Michael Xavier Garrett, who is absolutely a narco general. He's a narco general. He was already, under great scrutiny because of the uh, finding of not just Vanessa, but also um, um, another soldier that had also, that they kind of just said, oh, he's AWOL, whatever, they found his remains. So they organized it that they would steal Richard's remains off of base and cash in on it, dismember him. Evidence indicates that they harvested his organs and they then trafficked his body over to Mexico for disposal. And um, these acts and the acts previous to that, the targeting of Richard, because it didn't just start at the forced removal. They targeted Richard for months before to try to um, somehow make him unreliable, right? They denied him his request to leave, to be transferred, which he asked over and over again. And but they targeted him and did all kinds of stuff to him, y'all. It was terrible. Um, and then they took his life. Then they took his body and they trafficked his body for disposal to Mexico. This this egregious, violent, vulgar crime and the subsequent cover up, and then their actions against us, Richard's family. The whole thing, because it's connected also to the Walmart mass shooting and the actions against President Trump, against interfering with the election, also the attempts on President Trump's life. Yeah, President Trump doesn't forget that, he doesn't forget that. No, not when you have a bullet whiz and almost go into your head, um, yeah, you don't forget that. So, this all, he knows who did this, right? He knows who targeted him. He knows who targeted Richard. He knows who took Richard's life, and he knows who took Charlie Kirk's life. Okay, this is very clear that um, that he knows. And now, on this day, he just announced that is it 12,000? Yeah, 12,000. I want to make sure that I have the right number because it's huge. 12,000 troops. He is absolutely militarizing the border. And he might go into Mexico. Okay, he might go into Mexico. And I think yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. I think it's just a matter of time because what they did to Richard is an act of war. And everything that he has been doing, we've watched President Trump very closely. And maybe this is not what Kent, the DNI, what's his name? Kent. His name is Ken. He's good friends with Tucker Carlson, and now and I know I'm going down a different path now. But the story is, and we'll see if it gets confirmed that Kent in the DNI was communicating with Tucker Carlson about top secret stuff. And Tucker Carlson then called Iran and talked to Iran. This is, yeah. So now Tucker Carlson received notice that he might be charged as a foreign agent. This crime as a foreign agent. And Kent, the same day as all this came up, puts in his resignation, which is very, very unusual, very unusual. And then he didn't put in his resignation in a patriotic way. He did it in also a very criminal way, I believe. I think it was very criminal how he did it. When we are in battle mode in Iran, it's like he aided and abetted the propaganda machine in Iran. Wow, just a traitor. This is these traitors. Yeah, it's terrible. So, and he had, DNI is a big position, and we'll see how all the new information comes up, but it's not looking good for Mr. Kent. It's not looking good for Tucker Carlson, I don't think. And we also know of General John Kelly, who also acted absolutely like a traitor and went and worked for the narco governor of Chihuahua, Mexico, as a foreign agent, Maru Campos, and then who's under investigation right now, right? So she's a criminal. She's absolutely a criminal. And then, of course, you have Alejandra de la Vega. She was working for Maru Campos also as a foreign agent. She needs to be investigated. And then her sister, Guadalupe de la Vega, she works for Scheinbaum, President Scheinbaum. And this is all at the border. And, that doesn't seem, that doesn't seem too good either. Right. So, so President Trump is sending 12 2,000 troops, U.S. troops, to the border. That tells you that Governor Abbott, by meeting with Maru Campos, um, he absolutely messed up. He cannot be trusted. He cannot, and I believe New Mexico and Arizona. Well, I think this militarizing the border sends a clear message that those governors are not competent, um, and um, and that there's something seriously wrong with their behavior and their leadership. So, yeah, this is because you can't have a U.S. Army soldier be forced out of his barracks room and taken downstairs and his life taken from him, and then his body taken and um, trafficked to Mexico at international after harvesting his organs and dismembering him, and then um, and then cover it up, and all with taxpayers' money to renovate the arms room with no expense spared, without following protocol, to hide everything. Um, and then you have Donna Martin, the head of the CID at the time. You have Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. You have the prime suspects in all of this. Yeah, something is. It is an act of war. It is an act of war what they did, the infiltration, the cover up, the absolute vile and vulgar crime, very violent crime. Uh, so President Trump doesn't forget this. It was an act of war. So he's responding with an alliance, and it's a new alliance, right? The Americas, the spirit of Americas. Um, it is an alliance that we didn't expect, right? We didn't expect that Ecuador would also beef up to combat the cartels and their illegal activities that they're engaged in, especially with the Peru, Colombian, Ecuador. When you see that area, you'll know that's where most of the cacao leaf is grown, to make the illegal substances. So, yeah, he 17 countries in alliance, I believe. That's what he put together, and it's just amazing because NATO, who is supposed to be who we have paid for, the United States has paid for their protection for decades, y'all, for decades, that they agreed that this action on Iran, because of course they were a threat to our national security because of the what was discovered at El Mencho's logbooks 5 days prior, and also in the Dominican Republic with the visas given to the Iranians. And there was also the raid on the imported cars, the fancy imported cars at Jacksonville, Florida, which were used to traffic, right? Traffic all kinds of things, like weapons. And that this trafficking would go to Iran, would go to then to the Palestinian movement. And yeah, so this, and of course, Richard's uh, super command structure, G3 operations that, on Fort Bliss, that absolutely had um, access to the restricted airspace over White Sands Missile Range, where the flights that you just have to type in Otovor or however pilots do that, and would just go right into Zorro Ranch. I mean, Zorro Ranch was like prime trafficking property. Okay, and at taxpayers' expense, you had restricted airspace to go right into it that they were using. So, just so much information today that I hope I'm making sense. But um, yeah, we see that uh, they had access. Bradford Bugado, the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, his, here he is, Lieutenant Colonel, in that kind of top secret access position. Um, and his father-in-law is a Palestinian arms dealer connected to this pipeline, to the cartel, and has a record for terroristic threats and very shady partners, um, very that are connected to this whole car industry. And if they're sending weapons over to the Palestinian, um, you know, it just shows you that Jeffrey Epstein was playing all sides because he absolutely was connected to this. Okay. And here he is connected to Ghislaine Maxwell, Mossad, while he's connected to this Iran Contra Palestinian arming uh, pipeline. And then, of course, now and I just shared a few days ago the CIA where he's wanting protection from the CIA he by saying, am I an asset? Am I a CIA asset? And they would never deny, right? And then now we have the letter, and I can show that to you. Let's see if I can put that on. See if I can put that on. That's oh wow. Okay. So that is the letter. See if I can widen it, make it bigger. Yeah. So that's the letter to the NSA. This is an appeals letter. So I'll talk more about this tomorrow. But Jeffrey Epstein wants to know if he's an NSA asset. So this supposedly Mossad asset, supposedly CIA asset, supposedly NSA asset. He's playing all sides and connected to this Palestinian Iran thing, right? He was playing all sides. And of course, the money laundering aspect. Um, so I did put that up. Let's see if I can move this over just a little bit. Yeah, so I did put that up where President Trump is sending 12,000 troops locked and loaded on the border because this, what they did to Richard, is an act of war. And this is the very vicious negotiations for the repatriation of our son's remains. Um, and so, yeah, I wanted to share that. Let's see here. I think that's an advertisement. Oh, yeah, the money laundering. And also, uh, I speak German. So this German newspaper, um, matter of fact, even from the area that my grandmother was from, it did this very deep investigation into the tax fraud of Jeffrey Epstein. And so this is that black magic. This is that report that I put out, just a brief summary of this incredible work that this German investigator did on Jeffrey Epstein and the money laundering. And so you can look that up. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that that was out there, that kind of investigative journalism was out there. And it did talk about the Deutsche Bank, and we know today that Bank of America settled. Was that today or yesterday? I mean, but they're trying to protect Deutsche Bank. I can tell you, Deutsche Bank, yeah. Question mark, red flags, red flags. Do I believe Deutsche Bank? No, I don't believe Deutsche Bank. I would have to see the paperwork, okay? Because they're saying, oh, they didn't do anything wrong. They got rid of him. Okay, whatever. Whatever I want to know. I'll let the lawyers and the other investigators look at that. So, yeah, this was the two letters. And that was yesterday, yeah. So, it's been a very, very busy day with everything going on, and, I can tell you that, um, this is, eh, the militarization of our southern border because of the failure of the governors in the states along that border. And this, is about them not viewing what happened to Richard as an act of war that was serious to address it. No, they they I think they're narco governors. I think that's what they are, narco governors. And I am in green because, and of course it's 1:30, but I wanted to say happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm in green today. And but I do want to say this, that I just watched a video and I should have pulled it up. And maybe I should pull it up. Because it is really concerning, and it um really illustrates what we're up against and the need for us. And I don't even have my thing on today because it's just so late. Let's see. See if I'm on. Yeah, I'm on. And okay. Oh gosh, I have a lot of. Oh, thank you so much for coming on, Laura, and thank you for translating. I see you now. Okay, so I am going to see if I can. I don't know if I can do this in such a without preparing. I don't think I can. No, I'll have to. But anyway, the point of it is this video that was just very well made, and it was about St. Patrick's Day, and it was addressing the failure of the president of Ireland. Well, Ireland has a president and it also has a Taoiseach. The Taoiseach was with President Trump today. You saw that where he was in green and he had the bowl of shamrocks. But Ireland also has a president. And the president is a female, and she came out today or yesterday. I don't know when she filmed this for St. Patrick. But she addressed St. Patrick as Patrick. She could not even say saint. This is the Irish president. There is no Ireland without St. Patrick. Okay? There's no Ireland without St. Patrick as we know it. Okay? Because St. Patrick, and I don't want to go into the whole story, and I should really share that video today. But that's why St. Patrick is so, he's the one that brought in civilization into Ireland, where, they became the scholars and really the savers of civilization itself with the translations, the keeping of the translations of the Bible and all that history. It's just amazing history. And she couldn't even honor that. And that's what we're up against. The attack on Christian civilization. And the video was very, very well done. And this is why what we're up against with these cartels and with the um, El Paso Mormon faction cartel philanthropists. They um, they are like this Irish president. Um, they're you know, everything that's good. I mean, did you see Paul Foster brag about his wealth while others have absolutely suffered at the border? It's really disgusting, you know. Um, and I don't have the words to express uh, that they just want to take away the Christian civilization that right behind me, um, Theodora and Justinian, codexed. They codexed it, um, and it gave us, protection of family law and what is a family and children and inheritances and, you know, criminal law and everything that made our Western civilization so wonderful. And they've just been chipping away and stripping away and bringing in cartels and doing the worst type of crimes against children and worst type of crimes against women and uh, doing mind control on all these men and just destroying the family and destroying stripping, you know manipulating elections to bring in bonds, to overtax people, over property tax people, to turn them into slaves. It is it's just a terrible thing. And uh, and that's why we are still a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And this is why this is a vicious negotiation for the repatriation of our sons' remains. It doesn't have to be, but this is the situation that we're in. And this is why President Trump has taken such a stand. And you know that he's right, because the coalitions of these um, philanthropists, right? These philanthropists that are really, uh, organized crime, have not supported, like acted mutinously. You know, I mean, look at NATO right now. It's just disgusting um, how cowardly they are. And, so I'm very, very much in support of President Trump. I know that there is so many questions that need to be asked. And there's plenty of people doing it, plenty of people doing it. But I also know what has his checklist, that I put out there. And that is just a thimbleful of really what he has accomplished. And I can tell you today, just I think we see it in when we meet with people and everything, that we know that this whole drug um, flow that was coming in and killing our friends and family members needed to be addressed. The whole assault on children and women and families, and um, just working a good productive job for men and everything, And being a father and being a husband and all of that, uh, the attack on everything needed to be addressed, because they wanted to confuse things and make us insane. And so I am absolutely behind President Trump in this, and because I want my son's remains back. But I know, because of our investigation for over 5 years, the vile and vulgar and violent crimes. And when I went over probably 3 dozen times, maybe more, maybe a little less, maybe more, about 3 dozen times when I went over to Juarez, people would cry on me. I was given a pen and I went over to Juarez. This one victim was crying on me. This was during COVID, and I didn't mind at all, because I didn't believe in that, the whole narrative. Um, and I didn't have time to care about it because my son, I wanted to find my son. Um, but I took off my pen and I gave it to her because it was a cross, um, to let her know, and I'm letting her know now. This is almost this is over 5 years later, that I have constantly prayed for her and worked hard for her, um, trying to earn the trust of the people, to let them know that we are absolutely have good intentions to dismantle this cartel and the infiltrators, the traitors that have done so much harm to so many, and our economy as well. So it has become just much more than what we ever thought. Um, but it needs to be done. It has to be done. Otherwise, we lose it all. And so I just want to thank everyone for sharing. And something is weird when people don't put dots together and are just in attack mode, right? Something is weird. And some people that you think you trust, and then all of a sudden they just are in attack mode and don't see um, this big cartel that was infiltrated and turned into philanthropists. They turned into philanthropists, protecting the likes of Jeffrey Epstein and the whole John of God, Brazil, the whole pipeline. Something is wrong when they don't talk about that, and they're in attack mode for the person that is dismantling it, and that is President Trump, who was attacked absolutely through this whole thing in every possible way, even in attempts on his life. So, yeah. And when Jeffrey Epstein is alleged to be Mossad, alleged to be NSA, alleged that's two different countries there, right? Alleged to be CIA, and we got the paperwork to show it. And in the Iran Contra with Khashoggi, right? I hope I say his name right. And now with that kind of continued, right? That kind of continued, which is with the Palestinian movement. Wow, he was playing all sides, and and it was President Trump that had him arrested. So and shut down Zorro Ranch and the island. Otherwise, they would still be going. They would still be going on, and Oprah would still be promoting the John of God guy, the the occult guy, right? Yeah, that would still be going on. So, yeah, I'm very glad that everyone's sharing this information and giving us so much encouragement. And thank you so much. Keep sharing, and I will be back. I think that is pretty much. Thank you so much for translating into Spanish. God